The woman, iamsherlocked, really started something when she started up that post talking about people pleasing and putting up boundaries and going off to admire the walls. She really started something, and it got the whole community talking about boundaries and, just kind of rallying together to help other women who are people pleasers sit down or go off and admire the walls. That has been something that we have been talking about for a few weeks now. So we have this woman right here. Her name here is Another Way to Say. She says she created an anonymous account so I can share openly, inspired by I Am Sherlocked. I have decided to not do any of the party prep for my stepkid's birthday. It's been a long time coming, but time for me to disengage. It will be the husband's whole side of the family at our house. In the past, I've cleaned the house, purchased all the groceries, decorated, made sure we had the kinds of drinks each guest liked. After many thankless years of that, it's time for me to stop carrying it all. She says, so I'm sitting quietly, sipping my second cup of coffee, admiring the walls, and watching the husband scramble to do it all while the kids are on their screens. They're old enough to help, mind you, ages 15, 13, and 11. It's 11 a.m. now. Party starts at 3. Bathrooms are dirty. Main living spaces are not tidied. Floors have floating tumbleweeds of dog hair. It's taken everything I've got to stay put and not jump in the mix to fix it. I found a lot of courage and inspiration from this group and your stories. So thank you for nudging me to do what I should have done years ago. That is the reason why community and social media is so important, because it is helping women get a shiny new backbone to stand up a little bit straighter, have some boundaries, and be assertive. Some of it is fake it till you make it. Some of it does need some encouraging from people, but women are making a change, and I am so here for it. I like it when the aviation queen pops in because she always drops this picture. I walked off to admire the walls. So then Tiffany says, I don't know why you didn't leave for the day and then come back at 2:55. She says, that's what I ended up doing. Came to visit my dad at his assisted living place and killing time with him until I absolutely have to go back. Ruth says, yes, another had enough mama sitting tight while the gang scrambles. You stay, girl. Another Way to Say says, thank you. Needed this encouragement. This is what women need. Women need this type of community to just say, sit down, and then they sit down. Leslie says, next step, leave for high tea somewhere on your own. And then she says, oh, that sounds lovely. Need to find a place that serves high tea nearby. And then Leslie says, some of the hotels offer it during the holidays. Also, some bread and breakfasts do as well. Hope you find one. If you do, I hope you bring an appropriate book like Pride and Prejudice, wear an amazing hat, and take pics for us. Pinkies up. Aaliyah Baba says, how are your walls doing? She says, currently visiting with my dad, and I'll say his walls are looking just great. We'll see how things are at home soon. And she says, I hope his walls are being admired by you both. All right, here we go. Another Way to Say says, leaving my dad's now, taking panic meds so I keep my cool as I walk in the door. Wish me luck. Amabel says, also be careful if the meds don't mix well with alcohol. I sound like a nagging mom, sorry. And she says, no, I appreciate the care. I'm not a big drinker, but a celebratory glass of wine is safe with the tiny dose I'm on. Amabel says, so much luck. Mitch says, I very seldom use my Xanax, but when you need it, you need it. Good luck today. Then Bro says, keep us posted. Cross Stitch Van Gogh says, be strong. You've got this. Please post the rest of the story. So you see, everybody is being encouraging. All right, here we go. She says, here goes nothing. Just arrived. Only a couple of cars out front. Will update as I can. And then she says, update. The house is bustling. There are some bottles of wine. Success. Still fur balls. Toilets are clean. Success. So all in all, a win. And I found my mother-in-law, who I adore. She's sharing all of her recent travel stories with me. And her husband poured me a glass of wine upon walking in without being asked. And then the person at the bottom says, bravo. No, I'm looking at the timestamp. She said bravo, but she was basically saying bravo to the woman, like sitting still and going off to admire the walls. All in all, I will say that is a success. Sometimes women have to know and understand if you pull back, there has to be something that fills in those spaces. And at this particular juncture, the husband and the stepkids, they sprung into action and they did what needed to be done. So, she learned that they are absolutely capable. So this is definitely a success story. Now, when another way to say started this conversation, she's basically saying, I'm about to take a step back. She got quite a few comments. So let's look at how some people responded to a woman making the decision to step back just a little bit. Merez was a bit passive aggressive here. She says, this is all well and good as long as you're treating your biological kids the same way. Othering a stepchild is not really what admiring the walls is all about. And then she says, I can assure you my stepkids and I have a deeply bonded relationship and they know how much I love them. The feelings are mutual. And so then Kim says, that is a very patient response to an offensive assumption. You're on fire, because she doesn't say anything about treating her kids differently, but maybe she just wanted her husband to step in and do some things because she's been the one carrying the load for too long. Merez just came in and assumed the worst. Another way to say response to Kim saying, thank you. Not easy, but not letting naysayers bring me down today. Too many walls to admire. K-Rex says, also, I've considered creating an anonymous profile because one of mine, Sherlock inspired, about me finally setting a boundary for myself, but my husband not honoring it, got shared with his family member who took offense and uninvited us to Thanksgiving, even though the post wasn't about them. But since I'm an open book, don't have anything to hide or be ashamed of, here I am. Oh, Harlem Mendingo is talking to K-Rex here saying, and you're talking about you're not confrontational. Like I said on the other post, this whole thing was started because of you. Own it, stand in it, appreciate your new backbone. I wonder what she's talking about. I'll have to go down that rabbit hole at a different time because I don't know if she's being sassy to K-Rex or what, but she is saying appreciate the new backbone, which is a good thing. She should absolutely do it, but it is challenging at times when having a new backbone means that some people will pull away. Miss Flibberty says, I'm in awe of the changes in boundary setting women are doing after I Am Sherlock's post. Enjoy your afternoon and well done on holding your boundary. It's not easy. I get the strong impression the men think the women can't possibly mean they're not doing anything. Surely not. How much notice have they had? Days, weeks? And here they are rushing around at the last minute. And then another way to say says, thank you. Glad to be part of this crew of strong women with incredible boundaries. And boundaries don't come easy sometimes because there are sometimes social repercussions. Sometimes people get really offended if you say no in any variation. You can just say it outright. You can say it like with a high-pitched voice. You can say it in any kind of way. Some people simply don't like the word no. I'll end it there. I will say I am so stoked that boundaries are being set and that people are getting this backbone, this shiny new backbone. Y'all chime in and let me know what you think. This woman says that she feels like ending things over an apartment. She posted this in the 2X chromosome subreddit yesterday. I think she's since pulled this post down. So she's 27, he's 29. She says, my boyfriend of almost 4 years bought an apartment in June this year. He kind of just assumed that I would move in straight away, but my lease wasn't up for 5 months. I also secretly wanted to wait to see how he would furnish his apartment, as over the years I've found that our ideas of comfort and necessities in living spaces are extremely different. When he bought the place and asked me to move in, I basically made it clear that I wasn't really comfortable with how he had his room in the past share house, and that I'd be happy to move in at the end of my lease if, during those months, he put in effort into making a nice home now that he owned his own place. Basic things like buying a new mattress because his current one is insanely lopsided and uncomfortable that I have a terrible sleep whenever I stay over. I offered to go shopping with him at any time and even joint buy furniture to put in the apartment in the months before I moved in. He said he'd do it, but guess what? The apartment is still almost exactly as it was when he moved in. I have begged him to buy some furniture, and he was just content to have his bed, two lamps, and a mismatched table and chairs in the living room. It took him until November to buy a couch just to sit on in the lounge room, and this was after me sending him over 20 options on the marketplace, since he complained he couldn't find one to buy. At first, he said he'd furnish the place properly after he saved up a bit, which was understandable for the first few months. Now he says he's waiting for me to move in to buy furniture, even though I made it clear that I wanted him to do this before I moved in. I refused to move into an unfurnished place and put all the effort into making it nice myself. We are both adults and both work in design. There is literally no reason why he can't decide on what furniture to buy when it's literally part of his job. He also earns more than me. We both make over $90,000. So there's nothing financially stopping him from actually purchasing things. Now, when I ask him about why he hasn't bought anything, he acts like I'm being extremely demanding and unrealistic. He also then turns around and complains that I never stay over or am never going to move in, even though I have made it extremely clear what he needs to do for that to happen. What's making it worse is my parents are also acting like I'm being very demanding whenever I complain that nothing at the apartment has changed. Guys, am I crazy? Is this an unrealistic thing to ask for? I'm honestly at the point where I'm considering breaking up with him because I can't imagine dealing with this constant fight to be believed or be considered for the rest of my life. Edit. So many comments are completely ignoring half of what I've written. I'm not expecting him to furnish the apartment entirely by himself with no input from me or spend a huge amount of money on his own. I have offered to go shopping together, to pick out things we both like, and to help pay for them. I send him things on Marketplace to buy. I don't expect him to drop thousands when there's plenty of cheap furniture going. I just want him to not live in a half-empty apartment for months and months without having to nag him about it. I also don't own an entire apartment's worth of furniture, so I don't know why people are telling me I need to just move in with all my stuff. I live in a share house, and my furniture either won't fit in the apartment or already overlaps with what he owns already. I don't know why people are coming for her. This is a grown woman. She wants to live in an apartment that is comfortable. And this is another reason why there are some things called the proto-hobosexuals, like the pre-hobosexuals, because those are the types of people that they might have a place to live, but you might have an even more comfortable place to live, something that's more like a home. Some of these people have shelter. It's the very basics. They are not going to be cold when it's cold outside. They're going to be nice and cool when it's summer outside. They're going to be able to go to sleep on their mattress, but it's not a home. It's not comfortable. So there is a difference between living like this and living in something that she is envisioning. She's envisioning living like an adult. And she says money isn't the issue. They have a job, and he has a job where he has the knowledge to be able to do this. But it seems like he wants her to move in and do the work for him. That's what it seems like to me. And she's probably knowing and understanding that that is where he is taking things. She does need to break up with him. She needs a person that actually you don't have to have everything. You don't have to have everything. But if he's been in this place since June and has nothing, that is absolutely bonkers to me. You get a little bit at a time if if money is the issue. But this doesn't even sound like that. This sounds like he is being lazy and waiting on her to come in and just fix everything. And some women are clearly tired of doing that, and it seems like that is where she is. Purse for Reth says, you're not breaking up with him over the apartment. You're breaking up with him over because of his behavior. You explained, I don't feel comfortable moving into an unfinished apartment. You bought this place without consulting me. It is not our place. It's your place. And I will not move into a place that doesn't have furniture. Continue. You have had months to buy furniture. You did not buy any. I don't care about the reasons. I don't care about your excuses. The meat of it. If you wanted me to move in, you would put effort into showing me you wanted me to move in. I told you to move in, I need to see furniture. You didn't get any furniture, so I'm not moving in. The nail in the coffin. You have shown me that I am not worth the effort. I'm done. If he wanted to, he would. He's waiting for his mommy maid to move in and furnish the house, clean it, design it, and decorate it. Babe, laughing my butt off, F that noise, an actual man will come along, leave this idiot boy behind. That's my thinking. And the fact that she had to come in and make this edit shows me the kinds of comments that she was probably getting in the comment section, which is weird. Yeah, she's an adult woman. This is not a broke college student that needs to just piecemeal things together. This is an adult with a job. No, this is unacceptable. Throw says, yep, it's almost comical the lengths men will go to when when something is important to them and they want to impress or otherwise make a woman happy. This guy figures my work here is done. This Throwaway says, I can't believe he works in design and can't be arsed to furnish his apartment. Can't be bothered to do his apartment. I don't know what arsed is. I think that someone with this job would want to have a nice living space. Or is this kind of like how restaurant chefs eat Doritos and cigarettes for dinner? And then this person at the bottom says, I suspect it's not a passion. It's just a job. But still, it's just a job where he has the resources to get this done, and he's actively choosing not to. Coconut Ranger says, there are so many little things in the way you wrote that raised a lot of red flags for me. If you really love each other, you would be happy to sleep on a mattress on the floor in an empty apartment and figure out the rest together. This is the OP, even though it doesn't have the little OP sign beside it because she deleted the post. But this is the OP saying, you're so right. I, as an adult working professional with a decent wage, would simply love to sleep on a mattress on the floor because love is stronger than back support. I like her. She's sassy. Rumandy says, in 1 month when he's bringing his new girlfriend around to his place, I wonder how he will explain himself to her. My ex was supposed to move in and she was so picky with furniture, she made me get her approval before I could buy anything. And then she effed me around for months and dumped me. So anyway, I need you to furnish this place and make it our love nest. Cracker Sucker says this is it. He can't be bothered to do the one thing you requested. This is exactly who he is. Rev the Aguar says when people tell you who they are, believe them. And so I'm not going to get into the other people that are just simply being rude. I showed one of them. Some people are like, you're doing too much. And she's not really doing too much to expect that. This is my thinking. I don't think that it is out of line to expect a human adult with a job to buy furniture for their apartment. And no, she should not just up and do it. I'm going to end it there because I think that many of us are on the same wavelength. This is something that as another adult, you could break up with him. He doesn't want to be an adult. He wants her to come in and save the day. That's what I say. You tell me what you think. We have been talking about how men weaponize food. And once you start talking about it and once you see it, you can't unsee it. You see how men really do use this as a weapon to control or to just show dominance or something like that. So this woman named Sammy Lee, she posted under divorce thread. She says, cheesecake is my favorite dessert. One time my ex ate the last leftover slice from a really special cheesecake I bought for an occasion. And I kind of figured he'd leave it for me. And when I said so, he went on a rant saying, oh, I have to ask permission to eat the food that my salary buys. Me? No, but it's my favorite and you don't even like cheesecake. Him? No, I don't, but it's better than nothing. Another time I had a half tray of a potato bake left over in the fridge. I went to work thinking I would use it as a side dish that night. I bought some meat to cook with it. He worked from home that day and ate the entire half tray of potato bake for lunch. When I asked him why he would do that, as the potato bake was clearly a side dish and I was going to use it for dinner, he scoffed at me for thinking there are rules around food. She continues, I used to cook double batches of food so we could use the leftovers a second night, which would cut down on my cooking time. I would give him a large serving, but he would routinely go looking for more and eat the leftovers. I took to putting them in Tupperware before I served dinner and refrigerating it. When he saw me doing it, he accused me of controlling his food intake and once again brought up how his salary paid for the food and he would eat whatever he wants. And so this right here, this speaks to how they clearly like to dominate your time and energy. So she, even though it was his salary and she's working too, but she has to go to the grocery store. She has to plan things out. She has to use her energy and time to cook. And they have absolutely no regard for that. It keeps you constantly working, constantly moving with very little time to sit down and chill out because you think cooking takes a lot of energy. You cook in a bigger batch. Cool, you have leftovers. That's what normal people do. But when people eat like this, they are trying to make sure that you are constantly having to cook. So Sammy Lee didn't have the word for it. She says, I don't know what this is called. Food manipulation, weaponized eating. It sounds awful laid out in a thread, but at the time he made me feel ridiculous for complaining about leftovers. And it's hard to find the words when you're in the thick of it to explain that it's not about the food, but the lack of consideration for me or my time as the person who shopped and cooked for the whole family. Anyone else experienced this? And a lot of people have experienced this. And even though she didn't have the words for it at the time, I did come in and say that men are weaponizing food. But when you don't have the words for it, sometimes they can make you think that you're being ridiculous. But like she said, she felt it. She knew that something was wrong. She knew that it was off, that he's sitting up here doing this. And it is a lack of consideration. To eat someone's cheesecake and you know that that is their favorite, that is absolutely appalling. Why would you do that? That just shows that you're selfish and entitled. So she started this conversation, and then like whenever these types of posts start, the comments start to roll in because so many people have experienced some of these things. Oh, this one pissed me smooth off, and I don't even eat pork chops. But Megan says, I made a pan of smothered pork chops one night. They were on the small side, and 6 of them fit in my pan. I took 1.5. The half fell apart, and I didn't fish it out. Watched my ex load 3 on his plate, and as he was scooping the 4th, I asked him to please leave it so I can have lunch the next day. He pouted, bottom lip stuck out. Oh, they look so good, and I already took the last of the potatoes. Men, 0 out of 10. She's not recommending them. But she made 6, ate 1.5, and she just wanted 1 more for himself. But he wanted to take 4 pork chops. How inconsiderate is that? And to that, Legal Cat says, selfish bastards. And then Megan says, he lost his job in April of this year and made little to no effort to acquire a new one. Still expected his bills to be paid, though. I really do hope, did she say X? Okay, yeah, she did say X. Okay, so she's not paying his bills. Good. We have another Megan, but this is Megan Nerd. She says, resource hoarding. There's been a lot of this discourse lately, and it is an abusive tactic that men use to keep women working. Yes, Megan Nerd. Always shopping, cooking, and cleaning, scrambling for resources that he keeps hoarding as he eats enough for 4 or 5 people in a sitting. They can't stand to see a woman rest or have a break. She has to be scrambling 24/7. So he feels entitled to her labor and all the resources while everyone else gets scraps. It's disgusting. And you see, these are white ladies saying this. These are white ladies saying this. This has no race. This is just a man thing. This is a lack of consideration. This is women across the spectrum that have been having these conversations, because even Megan says this has been a discourse lately. And then look at what Sammy Lee says. Oof, yes. He also couldn't stand if I sat down and started reading a book. He'd sit down with me and be like, so what are you doing? I mean, looking for 10 minutes of peace? D-head? She did not call him a D-head. We have Danger Puddle. Danger Puddle says similar, though from an unintended roommate. A friend was moving back to my state and was trying to find a place to stay while he found a job in an apartment. I offered my office room and explained the very few rules of the house. Basically, be considerate. No rent or other money requested. He accepted and in the first week started ignoring any requests. He wasn't job hunting. He wasn't looking for his own place. Instead, he whined because I didn't live in the main downtown of a large city. I lived across the street from a large transit center with a bus direct to the downtown area he wanted. He just started eating everything that wasn't nailed down, but wouldn't clean up after himself. Every day, all my dishes were used. In less than 3 weeks, he ate over $800 worth of food. I couldn't even make dinner because by the time I got home from work, there was nothing to cook. But heavens forbid I should ask him to contribute money. Not long after, I told him to get out. $800 worth of food? That's almost someone's rent. That's why Kaleidoscope Buggin says, where does the audacity come from? Like, I couldn't imagine thinking that this is acceptable. Danger Puddle says, no clue. We are no longer friends, though. The final straw was not the audacity here. It was him making light of and posting things mocking the destruction of the World Trade Center a few months after 9/11. And he didn't see anything wrong with the garbage he posted and threw a tantrum when his posts were reported. I am not the only one who was offended. Yeah, he sounds like a rubbish person all around. It's just Joanne says, imagine the disaster he left behind elsewhere. And then Danger Puddle says, I already have nightmares. I don't need more. This person, DRJF, says, after breaking up with my ex, I remained in the house while the sale of it was organized. One day, before I was legally allowed to change the locks, while I was out, he let himself in and ate an entire cake I had in the fridge for my birthday. When confronted, he said, it was only a cake and not to be so dramatic. She Saucy says, violence. And then Sammy Lee says, he just didn't want you to have it. And then DRGF says, pretty much, yeah. She continues, though. I had already been reporting other actions to the police, so put this theft on the growing list. Looking back after many years free of him, it was funny that eating an entire cake got legally recorded when I went for a restraining order. Imagine having to explain that to your solicitor. But it's not the point. It's just the inconsideration, it's the entitlement, it's the selfishness. So many of these stories, so many different women sharing the different ways. And like someone said, it's not just a romantic partner. Sometimes it's a friend. Sometimes it's a brother. Sometimes it's a dad doing this, where the dad is just eating, and everybody else is just sitting there just waiting so that they can have some scraps. All right, y'all, keep telling your stories. We will continue to have these discussions because you need to see and understand. And something else that has come out as we've been having this discourse is weaponized messes. Because weaponizing messes, someone that just keeps dirtying everything up, that keeps you busy as well. That keeps you cleaning. That keeps you never having the chance to sit down and put your feet up. So keep on talking. Let's keep on talking. Like, comment, and share.
And remember, ladies, stop feeling sorry for men who cannot make it in a society that was literally built for them because they had every advantage but still chose excuses.